On to match 4. We are lost match 1, won match 2, lost match 3 against, I guess, a white-black Stoneforge deck, then the Mirror, then Brian Kelly, playing Brian Kelly Oath. So we haven't exactly had a great start here. And we're going to lose the die roll. And we're going to need to Serum Powder. And we'll keep. So far we don't really know much about what our opponent's on. We know he's playing blue, unless he's just trying to tilt us with the Misty. I assume he's going to do something very soon. Cavern means... I'm not sure. Merfolk. Okay, there we go. So Merfolk is a deck that we should be able to race, I'm pretty sure. And so we've managed to get our graveyard started. This is actually a pretty decent start to the game. I don't think we've hit any recurring creatures just yet, but we're not too concerned about that. We can wait another turn or so. They're not going to kill us next turn. We are going to hope to hit something. We do want to therapy them and flash it back if we possibly can. Okay, great. We hit an Archimever. And that's going to get us 2 3/3s for next turn. So it's probably correct to play out the City Brass over the Undiscovered Paradise here for the simple reason that the we might want the extra land in case they play something like Curse Catcher. And we do actually need to pay mana for something. So our opponent's obviously just deciding whether or not to force or misstep. I feel like if we do therapy here, okay, so they're going to cast Daze. So we're not going to stress too much about being dazed. I feel like that probably hurts them worse than it hurts us, at least based on current information. Okay, so he's going to play Force of Will. So he must have multiple Comina's Speakers or multiple Lord of Atlantis in hand for that to be a reasonable play. So we're naming Dismember there, as that's the only thing that kills his creature that we think might be possibly played. It's hard to play, there's not much good hard removal in blue. So I'm guessing the reason he wanted to hide his hand was because of the Time Walk. So if we named something like Force of Will, So the problem with that play is I don't think the Time Walk does much from here. He can play out Lord of Atlantis this turn, which means he can't Time Walk anytime soon. Or he can play the Time Walk and possibly be able to drop, say, a Kamina Speaker and a Lord of Atlantis next turn. But I still don't think we're particularly scared of that right now. So Ancestral's fine. Once again, it's not something we're particularly worried about. All it means is he's developing less of a board presence, which I think is the only thing that really matters for us in these games. Okay, and we're starting to hit critical mass now, so I think we want to dredge a Grave Troll. We then want to therapy, name Force of Will, Dread Return, targeting Flamekin, and that should be the match. Even if it's not, I think we have too much on board to be particularly worried. We can actually Dread Return twice if they Force of Will the first time or they misstep us or anything. So we're in a really good position here. Okay, so we're going to want the Ingot Chewers. They're blue, so they're going to need artifact-based Grave Hate. Once again, we're making the incorrect cuts by leaving the Mindbreak traps in. Okay, cool, great, we picked that up. So we're just going to go a little bit more action-heavy, and I think we like the Flamekin Zealot here. The Elishnorn's good, but I think Flamekin is better, as we kind of want a fast kill. So Elishnorn is kind of relatively easily overcome by their main game plan. So if they have a couple of Lords on the board, yeah, okay, so it slows them down, but it doesn't actually wrath their board like it does with, say, Mentor or Pyromancer or most other creature decks. Missteps are obviously going to be fine here, as we're going to be expecting things like Grafdigger's Cage as their main hate, just because it will serve double duty between us and Oath. Alright, and our opening hand is pretty crap. It's not really doing anything, no bazaar, no lands of any sort. Despite the fact that we are a graveyard recursion deck, we do want to have the ability to deal with result hate, as we are in game 2. Okay, and this hand's pretty solid. We're going to want to scry to probably a Dredger. We need to bottom the Icarus. Unfortunately, while Icarus is great, it doesn't really do anything on its own. So we actually need action, whether or not that be a Dredger or anything else. So I think there's an argument to be made here for playing out the Bazaar first. That argument being, what we could have done is, we're not going to get to do anything with the Bazaar until next turn anyway, but we could have played out Bazaar, done nothing, then drawn hopefully into a Dredger or two. Then next turn, City of Brass, Nature's Claim. If they try to fight the Nature's Claim with a misstep, we can misstep. We can activate Bazaar to try to find a misstep to misstep back and go from there. I think we should have therapied for a Lord of Atlantis here. We have it in our hand, we might as well get use out of it. And while we may or may not have been able to resolve it, it would have saved us a few life here. Which could be relevant as we're not anything like as consistent as we are pre-board, and we're not the most consistent deck pre-board to begin with. And this is not looking great. So the reason we're casting Therapy on ourselves here, which looks a little bit strange, is we want to get the Amalgam out of our hand. We're then going to play Undiscovered Paradise. It will trigger the Bloodghast. This will trigger the Amalgam. Unfortunately, it is not working out as we'd like it to. So it's starting to look very like we're going to lose this match. We really should have therapied there for another Lord. Oh, sorry, we're definitely going to lose this game. Unfortunately, while we were able to take care of the opening cage, we just haven't really... We've bricked really badly on our land since. So they're going to bash for 7. And we're only going to manage to get 1 zombie into play, which won't quite be enough. I wonder if perhaps it was worth attacking with the Bloodghast first, And if they block, then we can play Undiscovered Paradise, recur both our Bloodghast, sacrifice one to Therapy, and we would have had 2 blockers up and a Bloodghast. So we would have started just getting a little bit more incremental value to buy us some time. While we slowly get online. We're going to run back the same list. There's no real need to change the list. I don't think we probably should have brought in a Serum Powder, cut a Thug. Apart from that, everything looks pretty good. We're trying very hard to be as streamlined as we can, and I think it's hurting our mulligan consistency a little bit. This hand's great. We have a Therapy, we have interaction with any of their grave hate, a Thug, a Bridge, and obviously the Bazaar that we want. Okay, so Grafdigger's Cage is fine. We have the Nature's Claim in hand. We should be taking a natural draw here. And unfortunately we need to Bazaar because we hit a Dakmor Salvage. I think it's fine to play out the Salvage here. We may have access to Serenity soon, or we may want to beat a Daze. And obviously we're going to untap with the Salvage in play. So our opponent's whiffing a little bit, which is good news for us. We have to kind of wonder what their hand is. Now we're stocking up with interaction for their cage. So as long as they keep whiffing on land, we're going to be looking really good here. We're going to be seeing a lot more cards than they do, just as a general rule of thumb. Alright, so we probably want to pitch the Salvage, the Dread Return, and the Therapy. And Nature's Claim this turn. This almost definitely won't resolve. Okay, so we've now forced them to use a Force of Will, which is great for us because we're going to get to untap with an Ingature. So that means they didn't have the Misstep. So now if they've drawn a Misstep, obviously Misstep doesn't take care of Ingature. Ingot Chew will activate a bridge, and will just start to leave us in a good position because we're going to get to probably take a natural draw for turn. We might have to do that, but then I think once we activate Bazaar, we're going to get to... Maybe we want to draw a Dakmor Salvage. I almost want to draw a Dakmor Salvage here. Okay, and he's got a second Force of Will. So unfortunately, we're now starting to look in bad shape. The only good thing here is we've forced him to use a bunch of cards, and we still have a good number of answers left in our... We should have misstepped there. So we're being really sloppy here. So the good news is we still have the misstep for the cage. So while we might have missed on the A call, at least we got the spell that I think matters more to us, because we don't want our outs to be Serenity only. So I have a feeling our next turn is realistically our last turn to find anything. And unfortunately, Elesh Norn is not it. So while I almost like the Narcomoeba for buying us a couple of turns here, I think we're better off having the extra card in hand to pitch to the Bazaar. We're going to hope we naturally draw. Okay, Time Walk should unfortunately cut us out of the game, as it means we can no longer use City of Brass. So we're a bit sad about losing that match.